All right. I think we are live. Hello, Nikita. How are you? So, can you quickly confirm, guys, that if I'm audible and if you can see my screen also? Hello, Anjali. How are you? I hope all of you are having a good time and enjoying your weekend. Hi, Sahana. So, can you quickly confirm, guys, if I'm audible and if my screen is also visible? If everything sounds good to you. Hello, Vikas, Vaishnavi, and Shamla. Yep, the class has been started, Shamla. All right. Okay, then. Okay, that's really good that I'm audible and I'm both visible too. So, guys, this is day seventh. Yeah, good evening. This is day seventh of C programming bootcamp, right? And in this bootcamp, right, we are at the end of the day, right? We are the on the last day of this bootcamp. And today we'll be first of all introducing you to about functions, right? What are functions and how can you write your own functions? And what is that with built-in functions, right? Then then after that we'll try to build a very small project out of whatever learnings we have had from this whole 6 days, or maybe I should say 6.5 days, right? We'll sum up all of the information and then we'll try to build that into a project form. Yeah. All right, Abusa says hi. And Moses, afternoon, I don't think you are living in a different time zone or what, because over here we are having yeah, over here we are having we are having a night. Anyways, so guys, yeah, this is the day seven, right? We have to wait for a few minutes so the participants can also join in, right? And by the time participants are joining in, let me give you some information about this thing. Yeah, today's quiz and everything. I'll be telling you that you'll be having a quiz today, right? And you'll be given 1 hour, complete 1 hour to attempt that quiz. And whosoever scores on marks greater than 40% out of the whole question, right, out of the whole maximum marks, they'll be entitled to receive a certificate of completion from our boot camp, right? C boot camp. And in case you're wondering how we are going to get that, yeah. So you're going to get that on your email IDs, right? The email IDs that you'll mention, that you'll receive your certificates across your email IDs. And don't worry, guys, we don't believe in spamming and nothing like that. We don't send across all these promotional emails and marketing emails. So your email ID is totally safe. So yeah, that's about it. And yeah, you guys can show off your certificates and all these things into your LinkedIn, right? Or you can add that also. I know there will be some people saying that there's a but these influencers says there is no value of certificates. I believe that. I also was a like I'm also a firm believer of that. But I think that if you are receiving a certificate, and you have done something to earn it, right? So there is no harm into sharing or attaching your certificates along any social media profile, right? So that's my personal opinion. I could be wrong here also, right? But I would love to I would love to share I would love to hear your experiences also. Anyways, so and you can also tag us and you can share your experience, like that how did that course went for you and everything like that. And one more additional information out of that is, in case you enjoyed this programming stuff and you felt like you guys should be doing this, right? A quick one thing I'll just be telling you about courses that we are running in. Yeah, we have this whole website launched in, right? We have a couple of courses and everything, and more of them are also lined up, right? You can get access to that, right? In case you are wanting to have live boot full stack development courses with the internship program and everything, right? In case you are interested into that, right? You can see that we have a pocket friendly course on that also. Then we have basic of this is the bootcamp that we are running, but we have a pre-recorded course on C also. Yeah, this is the pre-recorded course on C. In case you are interested, you can definitely have a look. Without wasting much of a time, right? I would go to the class, right? I would love to continue the class, right? You guys can give me a thumbs up, right? Whenever we are ready to start the class. I'm waiting for the confirmation, guys. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chirag, Gopika, Konga. All right, I'm waiting for the confirmations from your side. In case you feel like we should be going, hit me up with a thumbs up. All right, that's really good. Now then, chalo, let's start the class, right? In the last class, we have had a discussion on arrays, right? Majorly about the operations on arrays or some things which you can do on array, right? How can you add, how you can insert, how you can search few things out of array. In this class, what are we going to do majorly is we'll be introducing you to functions, right? What are these functions? A minute. Right, what are these functions and how we can utilize them? Yeah, what are these functions and how we can utilize them? All right. So yeah, now what are functions basically? If I have to tell you, I should be using a pen. I don't know why my pen is not working over here. All right. So what do you understand when I talk about functions, right? Basically, assume one example that you have hired a chef, right, in your restaurant. You guys are having your own restaurant, and you have hired a chef, and maybe you know a recipe which the new chef does not know, right? And you want to say that if the customer orders to maybe have a noodles, right? Let's assume a noodles as a dish only, right? If the customer wants a noodle from your restaurant, right, there is a particular recipe that you follow to create noodles, to cook noodles, right? And you will just go to your chef and you'll say that, dude, this is how you create noodles, right? This is how you cook noodles. But what if you have to repeat the same stuff again and again and again? Yeah, again and again and again to the same chef, right? That would be too much to do, right? Because you won't be available every time to tell the recipe. And even if you are available, telling the same thing again and again is not a good thing, at least in programming, right? Doing the same stuff, right? Same pretty stuff, writing this multiple number of times is not a good thing. It's not considered as a good thing into programming, right? So what can we do what can we do in contrast to that is we can say that, suppose I have some instructions to share to the cook or to the chef. I can do one thing. I can write them down into a receipt, or I can write them down into sticky notes, and then I can stick that or I can share that to the cook, right? So that every time the cook has to cook something, or has to go through the instruction, they can just refer to the docs, or they can just go and refer to the notes, and then they can build, or they can serve the noodles, right? This is somehow similar to functions. What is the purpose of functions? Having functions into C programming or any other programming, right? They are, if I have to explain explicitly, if I have to explain in technical terms, functions are nothing but functions are block of code, right, which are there to perform a specific task. That's it. And I think you would have this question, sir. We are able to perform tasks using normal lines of code, right? Why are we even wanting to have functions? Why do we need to have functions is because you don't want to write this, you don't want to do the same task by giving the same line of code every time wherever you need it, right? You just want to keep them into a file, you just want to keep them into a block of code, and wherever you want to run this action, wherever you want to do this functionality, you'll just call for that function, right? So this is what we can do using functions, right? Now in functions, you can see there are two major categories. First of all, right, one is the predefined one, right, and other one is the user defined one, right? Predefined, I'm damn sure that you guys have seen this, right? Because from the very first class itself, when I started telling you about main function, or I've told you about what do you say, these scanfs, printfs, all these are what? All these are your, in fact, like a little correction, your scanf, printf, all these are your predefined function. Int main is a function that you have created, right? Anyways, so scanf you write, right? SCNF. So what is the purpose of scanf? The purpose of scanf is taking input, right? And there is a definition of that function, right? There is a use case of that function that is written behind the scene. And why don't we write this multiple number of times? We just assume, or we just believe, we just have a faith on this scanf function that whenever I execute this function, whenever I'm going to call this function, this is just going to take the input for me in a very normal way, right? This is about functions, right? Now, similar to that, we have printf function also, right? Which is a function that is there to, print something on the screen for us, right? So these are basically your predefined function. But We are not going to discuss more about predefined functions because we just know how to use them, right? We don't want to go inside the definition of them, what are written behind the scenes. Now, at this section particularly, we will be much more interested into knowing what are user defined functions and how can we create our own freaking functions, right? Because at least at the first point, right, if you're hearing about the function at the first point of time, right, you would say that creating your own function is a good damn deal, right? So this is what we want to see. And before even directly jumping into what are user defined function, I just quickly want to show you that there is a need of writing functions, right? How would I show you that? Is obviously by going to an example, by going to a demonstration. Yeah, I would again open up my online C compiler. Again, doing the same pretty old stuff. I hope you guys have become like, this has become more familiar to you all, right? Because this is what we generally do over here. Yeah, the first thing is, suppose I have to print maybe I have to print 4 number of lines, right? Hello world. Right. Assume that this is some part of instruction I want to execute. Although these are just plain simple printf statement. Assume, these are some a part of code that I have to execute countless number of time. I have to execute them maybe sometime on the top, sometime, middleware of my code, or sometime at the end of my code. Something like this I have to create, right? So would I be writing all of this line of code, right, every time I need to execute it? Does that sound good? Because at least to me it does not sound good, right? Why to repeat all of the same stuff which you can save at one place and then utilize them any number of time? This is one problem. Now, before any one of you started saying that, sir, why can't we use loops, right? Can't we use loops over here? The answer to that is no, we cannot use a loop, because loop is basically used to iterate over the same statement at the same time, right? But I am not sure that if I will be using the same statement like exactly same number of times at one place, right? I would be using it maybe somewhere at the end, maybe somewhere at the starting point, maybe somewhere at the middle point of my code. But the major point is that I would be needing it, right? So for all such scenarios, you cannot go with loop. Rather, what we can go with is, we can create this, we can put this into a file, or we can put this into a particular block. Wherever we want to execute it, we can just, we can just call this. That would become very much easier in that scenario. Right. So now comes to that point, how are we going to create a function, right? Because the idea to that looks really cool, but can we create our own function? If yes, what do we need to create a function, right? What else information we need to have? So you can see that, this is basically the 3 parts of your function call, right? This is basically 3 parts associated with your function. Oops. This is 3 parts associated with your function. The first being that, you need to have a function definition, right? Function definitions clearly mean that, you'll define your function, that what is your function going to do, right? In our case right now, we just want to print some, print some statement. So this is what our function is intended to do. In other cases also, you could, you could have some numbers calculation done. You could have some other stuff going on from there. But right now we need to tell the type of your function, right? The first part is, what is your function going to return? Now, in case, right, suppose let's circle back to the chef example, that our chef is cooking something, right? It is cooking noodles, or it is cooking something. In that case, when the chef is done with the work, what it is going to serve, right? It is going to serve you noodles. So you can expect to have noodles from the chef side. So this tells you that only, right? What is this return type? This return type means that what is the function going to return? Next up is the name of the function, right? This is, I hope, as you know this, right? What are you going to call your function name, right? By which name you are going to call your chef, right? How can you call him? This is what it will refer to you. And as usual, just like you can name, just like you have naming conventions for variables, right? Which we discussed, I think, in the second class about, you can have alphabets and numerics only, or maybe underscore only, right? You cannot use any other symbols or something like this, right? All of this like that, right? The same convention follows over here also. right? You cannot start it with the numbers and all these sort of information, right? So yeah, that being said, that will be the name of the function. Now, next up is a very interesting thing, that is arguments list, right? What is this arguments list and why do we need it is, suppose you want to say that maybe you would tell your chef that you in case you want to prepare noodles, right? You would maybe take this much of sauce, you'll take this much, you will chop this much of onions and all these other things, right? And then you'll prepare noodles. But I'm damn sure that you would say that, sir, the noodles variation, like there could be a variation into noodles, right? Like sometime or the other, you want a noodles for one plate, you want a noodle maybe 4 plates or something like this, right? There could be there could be variation in quantities, right? So how would you do that, right? So your chef should be like that much capable of thinking that maybe if the order is for maybe 1 person of the if the order is for maybe 10 persons, right? Then the function should be able to accommodate according to the requirements. So how we do that is we pass in some variables, we pass in some values alongside with it, saying that if you have an order to create maybe 1 plate of noodles, you'll chop maybe 1 piece of onion, right? You'll chop one fresh onion, right? In case you have maybe 4 people to serve, you will chop 4 pieces of onion, something like this. So this is passed down to the function using an arguments list, right? Which we pass over here, right? Next up is the plain things about the body. That is, whatever your function is going to execute, it is going to come inside this parenthesis, right? This is basically the parenthesis part of it, right? And this is how do you like define your function, right? Once your function definition is done, right? Once you have told your program that this is my function going to be, right? This is what my function is going to do. Next up is basically about how would you call your function, right? Call your function would mean that, your function is sitting out there, right? Your receipt is sitting out there, right? The recipe is sitting out there. You just need to call your chef and say that, dude, I want this much amount of noodles. Can you get that for me? So that your function could start executing. Please note this one thing. Whenever you have declared a function, whenever you just defined a function, right? The main thing is that it does not start executing automatically. You have recipes of, thousands of dishes in your restaurant, but the chef does not, start making all of the recipes at once, unless and until you order that recipe. So similar to that, right? The function wait, the program waits for the function call. That as soon as you call for the function, right, then it is going to execute this stuff for you, right? So that being said, again, declaration is basically when you'll just declare that, okay, I'll be having this function and I'll be defining it somewhere else. Declaration means that you're just announcing that, you are just putting it onto your menu, right? Dude, I have this function, I have this dish with me. If you want to order this, I'll get this done to you. Declaration is that. Definition is basically the recipe book, right? Wherein you have written all this stuff for you. So that being said, right, that is how you write a function. That is, some nitty-gritties about functions. I would quickly show you about function without boring you on, right? I'll just give you the demonstration of that also. This is a actual value of how you write a function, right? This is one live example of how you write a function. The first is a return type. Just like we have data types, we have variables and all these other things, right? We have an integer type. Then we have, we have character types and all these other things. Similarly to that, if in case your function is returning an integer value, you would have to write int, right? I'm damn sure that you are clear about the return types. You're clear about the data types, at least from the last classes, right? Then we have the name of the function. You can write any of the names, right? Then is the list, and then there goes, the parameter stuff, wherein you'll pass down the values to the function, right? The same thing, right? How many dishes you want, how many, plates of noodles you want, or maybe, do you want to keep it spicy or what, or do you want extra sauce, you want, extra cheese or something on that. So all these requirements can be passed down to function using these parameters, right? Using this above a function header, right? Now that being said, right, if that is, if you are done with that, now only part that is remaining is the body of the function. Just like you do normal execution within normal your code, right? You can just get this done in the function body, right? And after the end, right, you have to write a return statement to eventually return out something from the body, right? Now, if that is done, I'll quickly show you one example of how would you create a function, and then we'll quickly start moving to our project, right? Because that is also important. I'll just cut it down, and I will say that I would have to create a function of maybe greet or say hello, something like this. And my function, since my function does not return anything as of now, so can anyone tell me that what should I use as a data type? What should I use as a return type, which does not return anything? I'm waiting for you to answer me. Till then, I'll just give a name to my function. I'll just give a name of say hello, and I'll just write the body of the function. And I'll just paste down this same line of code over here. Right? Now, everything about my function is done. Yeah. No, Gopika, we don't write car in case you don't expect anything, right? In case your function does not return anything. We write void in case your function is not returning anything, right? Yeah. So I've just written void because I'm not expecting anything from my function. Then I would write the name, yes, of the function. Then I would write everything that I want to execute inside within it. Right. So this is basically my definition of my function, right? I've just defined a function over here. Please make sure that whenever you are defining a function, it has to be outside the main program, right? You cannot define a function within a main program, as of now at least, right? You have to define it outside of a main program. And in case you want to utilize in the main program, right, you have to define it above the main program, or maybe at least declare it above the main program, right? In case you would write it this way, let me show you one thing. In case I would just move this function back from top at the end, and if I'll start executing it, if I start running it, how would you run a function? You would run a function directly by calling it, and then by naming it, and then by writing a parenthesis after this, right? But do you think this will work? See, can you see this? It is kind of giving some error saying that, this is that and that, implicit declaration, everything, something like this, right? That means that it is maybe kind of working, but this is not the right way to do, right? The right way to do is to declare it once, right? To declare it on the top. Why is this? Why I'm suggesting this is because, your program goes step by step, right? Your program starts from the top and then moves back till, line by line. In case you have already told your program that, okay, I'll be having a function named say hello, and that would do all this stuff for me, and then you are calling it, it will say that, okay, I know what is a say hello function and I know how to execute it. Rather than that, if you'll just keep on executing it and then at the end you'll tell, okay, this was my say hello function, it is going to give you some strange errors in that sense. Let's quickly execute it one more time, and you can see that it is working perfectly fine. There is no errors as such in this particular case, right? That is about the that is about functions. How can you write it? How can you create your own functions? I hope it had made sense, right? If that has had made sense, right, you can quickly give me a thumbs up, and then we can immediately start making a quick small project out of it. That will be a mix of functions, mix of conditionals, and all these things. Yeah, and then we can go ahead summarizing that project, like what we made and etc. All right. Now, if that was good, right? Now it's a time that we should be creating a simple project. And guys, don't expect that project to be, some super visionaries. Yeah, in C we have to declare the function. Yeah, that we have to do. Right, cool then. Now, what I was saying is that now let's go back to our screen, right? I have this project in my local system, right? Because I just wanted to have this locally because, locally it looks pretty cool, right? Execution and all comes very handy. Now, guys, this is the project that we are discussing right now. And in order to save our time, right, so that I don't have to write all these lines of code, right, directly in the class, I've just implemented it right beforehand, and I'm just going you through, like, I'll just run you through over this particular, this particular piece of code, right? In this, your first look might create a panic situation in your head, saying that, okay, this is too much of code. We have not seen this much intense code till this point, right? In case you're a beginner, but I would say that, dude, this is nothing difficult, right? Whatever I've told you, right, in the previous classes, in this 5 to 6 classes, yeah, this is just like that only, like just summation of that, right? Just the clubbing up all of this informations, right? All right. So now over here, I'll just quickly divide this whole project into some sections, right? And I'll be explaining you all of this stuff to you. So the first part of our code is basically the library implementation. I mean, there's import statements and all, right? Or maybe, we are just including some built-in functions. So how we are doing that is, I hope you can see all of these, right? stdio, stdlib, and mat.h. These are the header files. These are, some packages which are going to give us some implementation of the functions, right? Maybe we want to use printf, scanf, that can be given us using stdio. Maybe you want to use some convergence and all these other things, right? All these operations that is being given to us using stdlib. We want to use these functions like power, sine function, cos function, tan function, tangent function. All these things are given to us using mat.h, right? This is what we would be using after this. Next up is this basically function prototype, or basically declaration of the function, right? I'm telling you that I would be having a function of main, right? I would be having a function of add, subtract, multiply, divide, and all these other functions I've created, right? So depending upon, if the user chooses to go into the menu option, we'd be calling a menu function. If the user chooses to go on the square root function, we would be calling a square root function. If the user wants to calculate the tangent of a number, right, he can go into the tangent function, or all these other things like that, right? A factorial he want to call, he want to quit out of the whole application, he can call all these function according to his own need, right? And I think going over these function, it gives you kind of an idea that what kind of functionality our calculator would be having. It will be having a normal menu, right? It will be menu driven, right? You'll be able to see like what all options are there, and then you'll be able to perform any such operation. Then addition will be there, subtraction, multiplication, division will be there, power will also be there. Suppose you want to calculate 2 to the power 3, right? So you can calculate using a power function. Then there is a square function also. I mean, you want to maybe get the square of 8, right? Which is 8 8s are 64, right? So you'll be able to get that also using that. Next up is the cube function. I hope you know what is a cube. Again, to contrary to that, we have square root and cube root also, right? And next up is the sine, cosine, tangent function. I hope you have heard about at least trigonometry at least once, right? If you, like, doesn't matter if you are a champ or not into trigonometry. I was also not a kind of a champ, but I hope you remember like sine, cosine, and tangents are basically like perpendicular by height, or these like hypotenuse by height, and all something like that, right? And there are values like sine of 30 is something, or sine of 60 degrees something, sine of 45 degrees is something, right? All of this you'll also be calculated. You'll also be able to calculate using this thing, right? Next up is we have a natural log, right? I hope you have also heard about log, right? And then there is a factorial. Factorial is basically, if I write 5 factorial, that would mean, I don't know why is this converting into a mathematical class, but yeah, 5 factorial will mean that 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 times, something like this, right? If I write maybe 10 factorial, I hope, like 10 factorial will simply mean 10 times, 9 times, so on and so forth until 1. Right, so you'd be able to create all of these operations, right, using our simple calculator that will be creating. I think that sounds like quite a good idea, at least as of now, right? As a project that we have built, just by knowing all these basic information, right? And trust me, there is nothing more than what we have discussed in this project, right? This is all simple, all straightforward, like whatever we have already done, right? And quit function is basically to quit you, or to get you out of the calculator. Just before that, I'll go into the code, right? I just want to show you the implementation. I just want to show you how it looks. Oops. How it looks on my machine. So I would be executing it from my console, and as soon as I execute it, I hope you can see this, right? This is this is the the menu that I'm getting, right? It is asking me to choose any of this option, right? Maybe I want to add numbers, or maybe I want to subtract, multiply, division, any of this, right? I want to get this, how what operation I want to do. Let's start with a very basic example, that is, suppose I want to add 2 numbers. I'm going to do that, and it is asking me of the first number. Maybe let's go with 80, and it is asking me for the second number. What should we choose? Maybe let's add 55. What do you think? What would be the addition of 80 and 55? I mean, who do care, right? Let's quickly execute it, and let's see if we are able to get the right answer or not. And you can see that the sum of 80 and 55 is 135, right? So this is how your calculator is working. Again, once the one operation is done, right, then you would again be seeing the same menu saying that now you have to choose for the next menu. In case you are not interested into going, right, you can just check for the 15 options, right? You can just say any other options also, right? Just a minute, and yeah, you can just get out of the menu, right? This is how we can also get out of the menu, right? And that being said, let's just a minute. What just happened? It's executed one more time because there was some mess up that I've just created. Anyways, right? Next up is basically about squares, cube roots, or factorials or numbers, right? I hope you believe that all of this is working perfectly, 100% fine, it is working. So I think demonstration is done. Now the basic time is like, let's quickly oversee what all these functions are and how we have implemented them. Let's do that. Yeah. So this is the definition of the this is the declaration basically of the functions, right? Yeah. Now in the main function, right, what we have done is we have just run a do while loop, right? Why do we write a do while loop? I hope we have discussed about the do while loops, right? Do while loops are basically, if you are, loop, I hope everyone knows, right? Do while loops will first of all execute a particular statement, and then will give you, then we'll give you an option to go on further if you are satisfying the condition of or not, right? So you can see that over here we have just we are asking the user we are first of all showing the user the menu, right? And what is there in the menu? It is just a printf statement, right? Just giving the option to the user saying that, dude, this is what you have till this point, and something like this. After that, we are printing we are asking the user to print a choice, to choose a choice, to choose something from the menu, right? And then we are just taking the input, right? And I hope we have seen the switch statements also, that depending upon the choice, if the user is selecting one, that clearly means the user wants to add some numbers, so we are going to call the add function, right? If the user is selecting 2, that means that if the user wants to subtract, and all these similar things like that, right? Multiplication, division, power function, square function, all these are just written normally, right? These are not something which are already implemented, but we have written this, right? Yeah. So that being said, I hope this whole switch statement is not making any difference, or it's not giving you any cold vibes, right? It's just, I hope it's pretty normal. Next up, at the same thing is that we are saying once this particular thing is done, right, we can move ahead with our functions. That is, what is the implementation of that, right? This is basically the menu function, right? Menu function will do what? Menu function will just show you the menu, saying that if you want to do addition, you have to select 1. If you want to do maybe square root, you have to select 8, something around that, right? Next up is now this comes the interesting point, that is, what are these implementation, right? And we want to, I hope all of you are interested into seeing that what is there in the addition implementation, what is there in the subtraction function. Let's get them one by one, right? One thumb rule, or one statement which is true in all the situation is that we are using doubles over here instead of using integers, or instead of using float, is because double is a range, right, which can cater up to a larger number, if that is even into the integer, if that is even into the decimal points also, right? In case you would use an integer, right, you would not be able to see the numbers into the decimal form. In case you would use a float, right, you would be able to see the numbers into into decimal forms, but the problem is going to be that it will have a shorter range, right? In case you are having a very large number, you'll not be able to accommodate that, right? So that being said, right, that's why we are using double everywhere, right? Every single function we are using a double, because that is a very safe limit to keep it. Next up is num1, num2 in sum, or maybe num1, num2 difference, and all these variables are just to take numbers, number 1, number 2, and then sum on that, or maybe difference on that, right? We are asking user for about to ask the first number to also enter the second number, right? Over here, I hope all of you can see that there is something different over here. Yeah, can you see this? That is LF. What is this LF? I am sure that this is a format specifier at least, right? Just like we were writing D, we were writing C, and all these other things. This is also a format specifier, but the change is that this is not something we have seen earlier, right? Isn't it? We have seen percentage %D, we have seen percentage %S, percentage %C, and all these things. But what is this? This is long float, right? Whenever you want to take a double, right, we can take that as a LF. LF is long float, that clearly helps you into taking a double numbers into input, right? So that is what we are doing over here. LF means that long float. Now, once the user has given us both of the numbers, we are just going to sum that up. Yeah, we are just going to sum that up, and then we are going to print that numbers for us, right? We will be first of all printing what over your number, and then what is the sum. Again, one very crucial thing to see over here is that we are writing this strange thing, 0.2f. What is this 0.2f? What is the reason for that? Why are we writing this? Can anyone tell me that? Again, this is very simple, very intuitive. Point two means that, what is a precision set, right? I mean, you want to maybe print the number, but you don't want to print all the, decimal points, right? You don't want to print the decimal points until 8 digits or until 16 digits. You only want to get a fair amount of, digits. That is two digits you want to get after the decimals. So that is why we have written 0.2. NLF again means the same, long float. In case you are interested into getting maybe 3 digits or 4 digits out of the decimal, you can write 0.3 or 0.4, something like this. Right, so that being said, right, this is how your add is implemented. I'm damn sure if the add is clear to you all, right, I'm like, you can quickly give me a thumbs up that if this function was making sense, because I'm sure that you can see this is not not much, right? All we are doing is just using for loops, just using some simple loops statement, and then using some operations over here, obviously on top of functions, right? We are just covering up all of this up into functions, and that's how we are doing it. Yes, all right. Then again, I'm damn sure that if you say add is making sense, in difference what we are doing, we are just changing the symbol, right? It was there plus, now we are just replacing it to minus, right? Because that's the only thing, that's the only change that is going to happen. And again, the percentage 2 is same, the LF is same, everything is same, right? All right. Next up is the division. Again, exactly the same freaking thing is happening over here, right? We just have a division instead of a plus or minus, right? Next up is the power symbol. Now things are becoming a little interesting over here. The thing is that in power, right, we don't know how to actually create a power, right? We don't know about that. So what we are doing is we are using a POW function. And what is this POW function? Is basically power function. And how are we getting the, like, have we defined it anywhere? The answer is no, we have not defined it anywhere. This is a pre-built function, right? And we are able to get this function. We are able to use this function using math.h library. And this function help us to, get the power of the numbers, right? It accepts two parameters. Yeah, it accepts two parameters. First is the number, right, which you want to take power of, and second is the, the value which you want to power it to. Maybe you are writing 2 to 2 comma 3. That means you want to have 2 to the power of 3, something like this. We'll just get it and then we'll get printed on the screen. That's it, right? That's simple. Again, next is the power function, right? In power function, if you have to, if you have to square a number, you can clearly say that you'll get the number and you'll just power it to 2. Or you can simply, in simple terms, you can just say number into number, right? That is the thing about it, right? Next up is the cube function. Again, it's pretty much same, right? I hope all of you can see that it's pretty repetitive stuff now, right? In cube, you just have to set the power to 3 and you can just print the value after that. Now, among square root and among cube root, right? Again, we have already built-in function. We don't need to worry much about it, right? Square root function, there is a function called as sqrt that will give you the square root of the number and that you can print directly. Cube root may, obviously, you'll have a cbrt, right? That is going to give you the cube root of a number. Right now, you might have a scary thing visualizing that what is going to happen if I would want to have a sine, or if I want to have a cos, or any like other trigonometric function. How would I get that? Things are pretty straightforward over here, because you can use, the good news is that you can use this library function, right? This sine, this cos, and this tangent. That's it, right? This tan you can use, and it is going to give you the sine value of that. It is going to give you the cos value of that. It is going to give you the tan value of that, right? That being said, right, all of these functions are also done. We have a couple of other functions. I mean, just 2-3 more functions we have. One is a natural log. Again, the good news is that we already have a log function built in, right? So we can just utilize that to get the log out of the number, right? That is good about it. Next is the factorial. Now, this is something which we have to implement because there is no function that is already built in to give you the factorial of a number. So what are we doing over here is that, we are just looping over the number starting from 1 until we reach the number. I'm damn sure you have seen this, right? Me explaining about the factorials. Suppose you want to get the factorial of 10. How would you get it? You would say that I would start from 1, go till all the way till I reach 10. Right, and I'll just be doing what? I'll just be saying that I'll keep on multiplying the same number and I'll keep on storing this in a variable. Like, this is what we are doing effectively. We are storing the result into a factorial variable. And this, by the way, guys, this is a shorthand of writing factorial equals to factorial times I. And I'm sure you know what is I. I is every time it's the iterator, right? So this is, yeah, this is basically about how you can get a factorial of a number, right? And once the loop is done, you can make sure that okay, your factorial variables contain your, what do you say? Yeah, it contains your factorial of a number, right? And then you can directly break. That's it, right? That's simply about it, right? So that's about how you can get all of the function. And obviously at the quit, we are just printing goodbye to the user, just for the just for that user will feel that okay, that's really sweet gesture out of you, right? So that is about all the functions, right? You can see this is pretty much the code, right? And it looks like this is close to 300 lines, but you have seen this, right? This is not much to worry about it because this everything is pretty much just same and straightforward, right? So yeah, that is a project, right? I hope you have understood the functionality. I've shown this implementation already, but like if you want to see how it works and all, you can quickly have a look around this again one time. I'll execute it, and this is how it is going to look. In case you want to do any operations, you want to do maybe multiplication, and you want to give maybe 3 multiplied by 4, obviously you can expect to have 12 as the output, right? So yeah, that's about how we can get this project done. And not only this, right, you can build quite couple of things out of it. In C, generally, we have major projects around C is on file system, right? In which using C, you can, take some input from the file, you can put something into the file also. All these, great things are also possible in C. That particular thing is called as file system. In case you are interested into knowing more about that, right? Again, I've told you about our course, right, that we have launched, and you can, that thing is also pretty much discussed in depth over here, right? In case you are much interested into that. And you can also why I'm not forcing you to go with our course only, right? We also can get these things into your what do you say, on these blogs or something, right? You're also free to explore over that, right? In case you are interested into enrolling and knowing more about it, right? You can, there's a particular, we have priced it very competitively. You'd be getting all these things and everything around it, right? So yeah, that being said, right, that's majorly about it, right? In case you are interested into getting this code, right, someone from the team will just add it into the description of this video, right? You'll get it from there, right? So yeah, that's it from my side. And now you know what is coming. The quiz is going to be happening within couple of minutes, something around 7:30. You'll be receiving the quiz link, right? And let me give you the Telegram channel link, right? You can just join this. This is where the quiz announcement will be happening, and that will be a 1 hour long quiz. Please make sure that you attend it within that time, right? So that, yeah, you would get the certificate. You can claim the certificate out of it. And I was seeing that some people were saying that I didn't receive the certificate and all. For that, please make sure that you drop us an email, right? And we can get back to you on that, right? Because generally this does not happen from our end, but maybe if by any particular reason that would have happened, right? Please feel free to mail us, and we'll love to send you the certificate for that. So yeah, that's it from my end, right? Basically, I hope you have enjoyed this quick intro to C programming, and you have had a good experience, right? Out of this, please let us know that. Yeah, there will be 10 questions only, simple 10 questions around that, and that will be only related to what we have discussed in the class, right? And what I was saying is that please let us know that how was your experience, and what all boot camps you'll be expecting from our end in the upcoming days. Would definitely love to have more interaction. And in case you are interested into interning with us, or finding out more opportunities with us and everything, right? Want to be into our communities, right? Feel free to raise your doubts into mailing us and all these other things, right? We are there in the Telegram group, right? Make sure that you hit us, right? Hit us as in you ping us across our social media platforms also. And for more information, you can visit our website, right, which is itspread.in. This is also something which you can check it out, definitely, our website. You would have something really great things over here. All right, that's really great, guys. Thanks for the appreciation. That really means a lot, right? You can and I'm just keep on spamming this. All right, thanks a lot, Gopika. Thanks a lot, Chirag and Vaishnavi and everyone, right, for joining in, for tuning in, and Saida, Fatima also, right. Thanks for joining in. I hope you had a good time, right. Yeah, that's all from my side. That's really cool. That's really cool. Today's attendance will be like allotted from the quiz directly, so don't worry on that. Right. And I would, yeah, yeah, you too. So that's all. I hope you have had a good time attending this whole boot camp, right? Until next time, right? Bye bye. And yeah, all right. So happy learning and good night, everyone.